What is up? What is up? What is up? Showing up the king, the one and only, here to bring you my review for The Walking Dead, episode 12 of season 3. This episode was actually fantastic. The season is starting to wind down. It's sad to say those words, but just a bit of good news. Walking Dead season 4 has already been greenlit, as we already knew, and it begins shooting this year. So we will be down for another fantastic season of The Walking Dead. But enough about that. Let's jump into this review. So the reason what made this episode so special was that this was a perfect blend between melding old history with current situations. As we know from last week, after Andrea, however you want to pronounce her name, she showed up to the prison to kind of work things out with the group. She got to meet up with everybody, say her hellos, meet little ass kicker, the typical thing we thought was going to happen. But when she went back to the prison, we quickly found out that she was all about the governor. They slept together, and she had an opportunity to end things and she didn't. So clearly she's team governor, and it's fine. Whatever. So Rick and the group, knowing that they're outgunned, they need to do a run. And for them, that means they need to go scavenge. They need to go find weapons, bullets, because they're not an unlimited supply. They do run out, and they end up doing that. They take a little road trip with Michonne and Rick's son. They end up coming, and they end up going back to where Rick was. Where Rick and Lori and Shane and Carl, they all lived. They went back to their town, which I thought was fantastic. We hadn't seen where Rick lived since season 1, and it's very interesting to see when they get back into town. Rick goes right to the same police station where he worked, and of course the gun case that he originally went to was all cleaned out. That was a funny thing to me. I'm like, it's been some years since that happened, so I think it's at least been a year. I don't know if they're working on real time or well, I guess not real time, but I think it's been at least a year, and everything was been cleaned out. I don't know why he thought that there would be guns still there. I mean, I'm pretty sure there were dozens and upon dozens of people that had been going through that town since they left, and any kind of gun would have probably already been taken. So, but like I said, Rick, being ever resilient, knew that there were a couple other spots he could check for guns, and then we end up getting a blast from the past. His buddy that actually saved Rick in the first season, Martin, was there. He apparently had been holding down the fort this entire time. He created all these ingenious zombie booby traps, things that spear and stab, and he would then later on come in and kill. And he actually had this ingenious thing where he would put like giant rats in these cages and put them in reach of the zombies. The zombies would come out and skewer themselves, and then he would just come in later and boom, 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 take them out. At the beginning, Carl actually had to shoot him in the chest. He actually was going to kill him, but luckily for him, he was wearing body armor. And then Rick actually took off his mask to reveal who he was before they actually finished the job. Great job, Rick. So, excuse me, my mustache or my beard is kind of itching me. But that's what you guys get. You get it real, raw. This is just how it is. No edits. So, so anyway, Carl decides to do a run. He wants to go get He wants to get a nursery bed or for the baby carriage or what? Yeah, carriage, sleeper, or whatever. And Michonne, we get a little bit of Carl and Michonne action going on, and we found out that Carl had an alternative motive, and I kind of saw it coming a mile away. Well, one of the things I thought at first when we found out that they actually were back in their old town, I wanted them to go back to their old home. Maybe pick up some clothes, see what was there, any memories or whatever the case may be. But once they actually got upstairs and got past the booby traps, Martin had already mapped out the whole town, and there was a big part where it said Rick's house burned down. So I guess they kind of, it was just the director's way of just saying, hey, that part of their life is gone. There is, and it creates tension because again, once we find out that Rick's house is actually burned down, then Carl is thinking to himself, great. And again, like I said, what Carl was looking for didn't really surprise me. It made sense because when he actually trying to make it about his little sister, I kind of figured it out. I was like, he's not trying to just go for the crib. It might be about the crib, but ultimately he wanted to find a picture of Lori, the baby's mom, so the baby wouldn't grow up not knowing what its mother looked like. And I thought that was kind of admirable of him. It's a smart idea, and if there was an opportunity for him to do that, I say go for it. So even though what they did wasn't the smartest thing in the world, I was totally worth it because again, Carl himself will eventually start forgetting what his mom looks like. But again, with that picture, it definitely does help. And it probably isn't any other real opportunity for anyone to get those kind of souvenirs. Well, now Michonne ended up getting a rainbow colored cat. I don't know what kind of innuendo that had, but I'll just leave it open out there. We actually had some fantastic zombie kills this episode. Michonne got a couple of skewers with her sword. Rick, I'm trying to see what was the zombie kill of the day. You know what? Actually, the zombie kills this episode were kind of tame. It was just it wasn't so much about the zombies this episode. It was more so about character development and just finding out Martin's story. You find out that in the beginning in season 1, Rick gave him an opportunity to shoot his wife and put her out of her misery because she was a zombie, and come to find out he couldn't do it, and that action that he took back then ended up having some pretty horrible consequences. Apparently, and later on in about a year or so later, the wife ended up finding him and the son could not shoot his mother, and she ended up eating the son. So then it made Martin pretty much a single man out there in the zombie world, and he was not happy about it. And I mean, I can kind of understand that. You lose everybody you love, and you have an opportunity to take her out. If that was my wife, I don't know if I could have done it back then either. But then again, if she's a zombie, she tried to bite me. Who knows what would happen? One other thing I want to talk about, and it actually ended up happening. I thought this was pretty cool. So once they got to his place, and they were looking around, he had this huge stash of weapons. I mean, he had more guns than the governor could ever hope to get his hands on. And of course, Rick and the gang, they're loading up bags, they're getting bullets and boxes, because I think bullets are most likely what they need, because they got guns. And I mean, you can't walk around with like 3 guns if you didn't have the bullets. So I think they mostly focused on that. But when they went upstairs, there was one thing that I noticed. I was like, if they don't get that, I'm going to be so pissed. And against the wall, there was a crossbow. And in the crossbow, it had all new arrows. And we know, and I said this in my episode 10 video, I said that Daryl had been using the same 2 arrows for like this entire time. Like, he needs more ammo. He needed a bow upgrade. And that was a perfect opportunity for him to get one. And I thought that was just so cool. When I saw that, I was like, oh, if they don't get this arrow bow gun for him, I'm going to be pissed. So, of course, towards the end of the episode, they're loading up the car, and I'm looking around. I'm like, nope, no bow gun. And I was literally getting pissed. I was like, how do you guys not see this bow gun and take it for him? I'm like, I was pissed. But then, of course, there's a situation after Rick talked to Carl about, Michonne being a part of the group. Rick turns to her and they're having a little dialogue, and there on her back was the bow and arrow gun. And I was like, yes! And I was like, okay, now everything's right in the world, because now the only other thing that I wished is that the episode lasted a little bit longer so that I could see the look on Daryl's face when he actually gets that gun, and just to see his eyes light up. But we'll have to wait and see how that works out. On another note, there was a guy on the side of the road. I guess he had on like a backpack with like pots and pans and shit on his back, and he, at the beginning of the episode, was just running, trying to get Rick's and them attention. And I thought that storyline was going somewhere else, but I guess it was just ultimately something to just talk about the state of things, because they ignore him completely as they should have, but on the way back you see his mangled body strewn about the streets, meaning that he didn't make it. And I guess technically if they would have stopped to help him, he may have survived. But again, adding another mouth, putting another person in danger that you don't know. In this kind of world, you don't just extend your hand to anybody, because again, in the zombie apocalypse, you don't have to just worry about zombies. Like I said, overall, out of a 10, I'm going to give this episode a 9.5. I really enjoyed the stuff from Martin and Rick. I love their little dialogue and how they compared their shitty stories. Michonne and Carl working together to get that picture portrait for little ass kicker. Everything was great, and it's unfortunate, but some people may not agree with me. Some of you may. To me, just seeing that bow and arrow that Michonne picked up for Daryl is going to be fantastic. So I want to know what you guys think. Definitely another solid episode for The Walking Dead. Let me know what you think about the episode in the comments section below. Definitely thumbs up the video if you could. It helps spread my vision across YouTube. And definitely subscribe to my channel. I do anime, manga, other reviews. So just check out my channel, see what I have there. And if you like anything, just definitely subscribe. This is Showing Off the King, Jack of all trades and the master of them all. You guys have a fantastic day.